You're listening to Optimal Pairing, a Fire Emblem podcast.
I'm Austin, and I'm a Fire Emblem veteran.
I'm Patrick, and I'm a Fire Emblem beginner.
And in this podcast, we'll discuss our playthrough of the newest Fire Emblem game,
Fire Emblem Three Houses,
for the Nintendo Switch. Oh, hello, Patrick.
Oh, hello, Austin.
Didn't see you there.
Once more, yeah. You're not very good at seeing me here.
No, I'm not.
Here we are.
Here we are, and instead of tea today, we did mate.
That's right, which is a form of tea.
Yes.
It's related.
Yeah, so we just don't get to have the teapot and the little teacups.
I don't think we get 2 hearts for it.
How many hearts do we get?
Just 1.
Hmm.
Well, this is it. Our last normal episode, maybe last episode. Maybe we'll come back for the DLC or other playthroughs, but
Wait and see.
But it's our last regularly scheduled episode. We've both finished the game. I beat the game this just a handful of days ago.
So great. I'm excited to hear. I feel like I've just been sitting on some eggs and I'm ready for them to hatch.
Let's hatch all the eggs, bring it all out into the open, tell me everything that's happened, and I'll do the same.
I'm pumped.
And so before we get into the specifics of we're going to cover the end chapters. For me, it was 17 through 21. For some reason, I thought there was 22 chapters in the game, but are there?
Mine has 22.
Really? Mine had 21.
I feel pretty convinced about that.
Unless one it counts as being like after the final battle, that's a separate chapter. Is that what you mean? Or was there a 22 that ended with a battle?
I had 22 chapter battles.
Okay. That was different for me because on chapter 21 was my last battle.
Okay.
And I thought there was going to be 22. So I guess that in this episode, we will cover 17 through 21/22 of the Golden Deer,
Verdant Wind,
and Black Eagle Church Route.
Oh. Do you see, listeners, I am wearing my most Golden Deer outfit, my kind of mustardy golden shirt. That is one of my faves to represent.
I did not think ahead. I'm just wearing a gray shirt.
For shame.
But before we talk about the specific chapter run through, I think there's some general discussion points. You had a list together of some good stuff. Let's go over that.
Sure. I just want to talk about, so one of my favorite shows is Steven Universe. And part of what makes it so effective is that there are kind of symbols and hidden things in the background that just let you know that the world and story is kind of larger than what you see, and you're kind of like waiting for it to unfold. And I feel that way about Three Houses, and specifically the crests and the level of kind of detail and attention that have gone into the crests and kind of just the symbology of this world and the geography. But some things that stuck out to me is that I found this really great Twitter post, and by Twitter I meant Reddit post. User PR0L0G.
Oh, that rolls off the tongue.
Yeah. Probably some internet lingo, some leet that I don't understand. 1337.
Right.
Has this, so they have the concept art book that you get if you have got the special edition.
The steel book or whatever.
That's right. And so when Saros turns into the dragon, when we see that happen, when
Rhea turns into the dragon?
When Rhea turns into the dragon.
Or is Rhea Saros?
I don't know.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't come away with a strong feeling that she was.
Oh.
Did you?
Really?
We'll talk about it later.
When Rhea turns into the dragon. And we also
well, I guess I kind of did, but
okay.
Go on.
So some of the beasts, you see they're these kind of like almost metal looking pads on the outside of them that have their crests on them. So like on the Immaculate One's nose, it has almost what looks like a metal dog tag. There's a zoomed in picture, and they all say things like, one of them says the magician, one says the devil, one says death. So these are all the major arcanas in tarot cards, and there are 23 crests in all, just like the major arcanas. And if you line them up in a particular order, even the images kind of reflect. So like the Lovers is one of the saints, and it's shaped kind of like a heart, and only healers have it, and it boosts their MT when they're healing. And so there's apparently this whole tarot theme
aspect of the crests
that is informing their design a little bit, and even like Marianne's is the devil one.
That makes sense.
And so, but all that's in the background. The game never is like, oh, by the way, this is all inspired by tarot. Yeah.
I'm into that. I'm into the idea of there being depth to something that isn't explained, but with a little bit of research / zooming in, you can see that. I think it's cool. And I think this game does this for sure in terms of like, not all questions are answered, you know what I mean? Which I think is fine, and I like in a good story too. And I mean, I've only played one playthrough, so maybe some questions are answered in the others, but from what I have read from people that have played them all, not everything is ever explained or answered, and there's some weird questions out they're just left hanging, which I'm okay with, and I even kind of like a little bit of mystery, so long as that, you know, like it's not feeling like it was left out because they couldn't answer those questions or because they were sloppy, then I'm cool with it. You know what I mean?
And I love, similar to what you're saying, when these fictional worlds have like obviously been overthought in the background, and like I'm not gonna see all of that play out, but the fact that I can see that there is thought behind something, but I'm not gonna get the full picture, is, as you said, exciting and enticing, and kind of keeps you engaged, I think. So this is one example. I'm sure there are others that I really kind of stumbled upon and enjoyed seeing someone else kind of tease that out.
Yeah, you have something on here about like a crest on the Garreg monastery not being Saros or the creator.
Yes.
And maybe there's some, like the building was originally something else. Can you expound on that more?
Yes. So when you get access to level 2, you can go into Rhea's bedroom, and then there's kind of like that balcony area with the garden, and there's this crest, and at some point I looked up the name of the crest. It's not in my notes, but it looks almost like this like starburst. And it is one of the crests, but it's not a crest we see on any playable character. It's not a crest that has previously been associated with the church at all. And so it's like, why is this crest here in the church? Because it's not connected to any of the kind of characters or iconography that we have come to associate with the church so far. So it feels like there's kind of a untold story that we may or may not, explore later.
Right, with DLC or something?
That's right.
Yeah.
And the same with like the DLC. When they release this new DLC, we got this image in the background of a wolf looming over the planet.
Okay.
And I've seen there's another Reddit post where someone was connecting this to an Egyptian goddess who is a creator, but she's also kind of vicious. And so is like both motherly and kind of warlike. As we get into these deeper chapters, it sounds like that might kind of be Sothis.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious if that's a hint that the story DLC coming will focus more on her, but we'll see.
Cool. And then we also, some DLC came out, right? Like beyond just the additional costume for Byleth. There's
Captain's outfit.
There's also additional costume for Byleth, like some glasses and stuff. Right?
Oh, right. Have you downloaded this yet?
I have not bought the DLC yet. I will buy it because I really like the game, and I think the additional story part appeals to me. But I still have several story parts to play through first, and I guess now some of this stuff in this second pack, go over it because I don't know all the details. Might appeal to me to want to buy it sooner or before I play my next playthrough, but none of it super jumped out at me. What else is there?
Yeah, well,
other than the glasses and the secondary outfits for your students or whatever.
So I have not downloaded this yet either. But the first DLC pack that came out is the 5 additional auxiliary battles.
Oh, okay.
New background music that you can find in the options
Are those new
menu.
maps? Do you know?
I am not sure if
That's
they're
fine.
new maps or not.
If you don't know, that's fine.
And then more consumables that boost stats. One is +2 speed, extra HP, strength.
Ooh, it's +7 HP. That's big.
Yeah, and I said speed earlier, so there is speed, but there's movement as well. And then
what does regular speed get you versus movement speed? Just like you attack first kind of a thing or something?
It's what allows you to double.
Gotcha.
So speed minus weight at least over 3 of your opponent allows you to double.
Okay. And then there's like a free update for everybody, right? As part of the additional difficulty.
That's right. That included the maddening difficulty.
Yeah. And you have a note on here. Is that lunatic or is that not lunatic or whatever?
Yeah. This kind of step above hard traditionally has been called lunatic in Fire Emblem difficulties, and I'm curious if that was changed for sensitivity purposes or if this is a middle step.
I feel like lunatic is one of those words that maybe 50 years or not that there was the same sensitivity to words 50 years ago, but like
sure.
I feel like words run that course of being like okay to use, problematic to use, but I feel like lunatic is already like nobody uses that in a problematic way.
That's
anymore.
like come and gone.
Yeah,
yes.
right. Like
yeah,
I think it's okay.
Yeah, and so that's what I was like. I have no idea, and there has been like no official comment on why they went with maddening instead of lunatic. And so
Gotcha.
I guess the question is like, does that mean lunatic is still a difficulty level we're waiting on, or does maddening fill that?
Right.
Mm-hmm. And so Adam, my brother, who really got me into Fire Emblem, he bought the full DLC pack that is supposed to come with all 4 after he bought and played the original game. And he auto-downloaded it. It tried to download all 4 packs. And so when he tried to open his game, it would error. So if you do buy the 4-pack now, do not auto-download. Go in and select in the menu screen, and that will...
I believe that was
that?
fixed with the Switch 9.0 update.
Oh, okay.
I think that was like how people found out there was going to be a system update for the Switch is because there was that problem. And then Nintendo was like, hey, we're going to fix this with a system update. And everybody's like, wait, system update?
Okay.
You know what I mean? Like not a game update, a system update will fix it. So it sounds like somebody like the release of that got messed up. Like they
maybe
were like
one should have come earlier,
right?
Yep.
Like or later or whatever. Yeah, exactly. But I think that's sorted out. Don't quote me on it, but I believe that System 9.0 was supposed to fix that problem, which only recently happened. I
got a call from Adam that was like,
oh, I can imagine people are pretty because
Yeah.
the people that bought the expansion pass are the people that are gonna freak out when
yes
when it
their Fire Emblem's not working. Yeah.
But
call the cops.
Hope that's all worked out.
Call the firefighters.
Yeah. So any other big picture stuff before we get into the nitty gritty of chapters 17 through 20X?
That's all I have. Is there anything laying on your heart, Patrick?
I think we covered it. I'm good. I think there's some general topics that will come up organically as we go through this.
Organically. And we'll go ahead and name it now, but after we talk through all this, I want to hear what which path you will want to explore next.
Right. I have some thoughts on that.
Into the chapters.
So chapter 17 is where we are beginning.
Oh yeah.
And I think our chapters are going to be very different, but we'll just go chapter by chapter. Or maybe I think we'll see.
Yeah.
So reminder, I'm talking about the Black Eagles church route, and chapter 17. I'm coming off of this really weird Dimitri is alive, is dead, is alive thing.
Your like dream that you had,
and
right?
I have a dream involving Dimitri. Or like, was it a dream? I don't know. Okay, but this didn't really.
It's very Twin Peaks.
It was very Twin Peaks. It was very like at first I was like, the first time or two, it was like, ooh, twisty, and it's like now it's just too twisty. You know what I mean? Like too much, too much compact of a time.
Yeah.
And then also it didn't really matter. Like it didn't
didn't play out.
It didn't play out, so it feels weird.
That is so odd to me.
And then it's like, so it was like, okay, Dimitri is dead. No, wait, he's not. Okay, maybe he is dead. And then it didn't seem to affect anything. So I think
all that build up.
I think he's dead.
Yeah.
And I had a vision involving him, which is like avenge me kind of, or you know what I mean? Like you have my blessing or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, or like, I don't know. It didn't ever really play out. I almost should have rewatched that cutscene because it just
to try to figure out
to see if it actually mattered, but it didn't feel like it did.
Did you? So you didn't see Dimitri at all in your chapter 17?
Well, at the beginning,
like in the actual battle.
No.
Okay,
I didn't see Dimitri at all.
I see.
I think there is a battle that you had that just isn't on the Black Eagles church route.
The one that mimics the eagle and
right. And if you think about it, it makes sense. I'm like the fourth faction that isn't involved in that battle. I see. I don't have that battle.
Maybe that's the one you're missing. I mean, if I'm one chapter up on you.
Yeah, maybe.
I'm curious.
Because I think this is maybe your next chapter. You tell me.
Tell me about it.
My battle, well, I should say in chapter 17, I just rested a lot that month, I guess, to get my creator sword back up. And because I felt like I was doing fine in terms of leveling and didn't need extra battles. Yeah. So my battle was not the Grandor Field like you. It was Fort Mercius. Was Fort Mercius your chapter 18 battle?
So that was my chapter 18.
Yeah.
And I talked about my chapter 17 last time.
A little bit, yeah.
Maybe a little preemptively. So I say we go straight into the...
Well, remind me what happened in 17 for you. It was the battle, the reenacted battle of the Eagle and Lion.
That's right.
And you tried to convince Dimitri to help you out, but you ended up having to fight him, kind of a thing.
That's right. Of like the dialogue of my characters kind of suggested that maybe I should be able to recruit him or ally with him, but he just straight out refused. I tried to talk to him, with Byleth, with other characters, Claude, that I think maybe he would relate to, and just nothing panned out. And so I ended up really defeating him before I went for Edelgard and her forces.
That's weird.
And no one... I think this is right. I think the people that I defeated all just ran away. I don't think I killed anyone on either faction.
Okay.
That battle.
That makes sense.
Yes.
So then moving on to your 18, is there anything you want to talk about? Or like, I guess I'll just finish like how my Fort Mercius battle.
Yeah, tell me about it.
So
what was the build up other than?
So like, I guess it was like, we're all gonna go capture this really important stronghold. It's very strategic.
Yeah.
Fort Mercius, and then I guess this battle must have been fairly easy for me. It wasn't a huge problem. And then, because I don't have a lot of notes about it, but I had a cutscene with the Death Knight at the end of it, and he says, "It's coming, leave now or you all will die," which was nice of the Death Knight to tell us that.
Giving you that warning, yeah.
And then some crazy thing from the sky falls, and the fort's it felt really sudden and weird, like, oh, it's destroyed. Like, what? It wasn't
Did you
very.
see
It
these,
wasn't
like massive explosions.
Yeah, it wasn't really explained. It was like all of a sudden somehow something from the sky comes and boom, it's gone. So I guess we'll go back to the monastery. It all happened very quickly. Yeah, it was a cutscene, but it wasn't like super explained to me.
Oh, okay.
It was like some sort of, at the time, I thought magic or something from the sky, some giant magic thing.
Okay.
I don't know. Whoa. It just was fast and happened. And like, it felt really left turny weird because it's like the strategic stronghold, and then we'll branch out. It's like, nope, we'll just go back to base. And
Yeah. Figure out what happened.
Yeah.
So I think maybe we got the same cutscene.
But you took it a little different. You
As
probably paid better attention than me.
As soon as I got this cutscene, I just started screaming, "Missiles! There are missiles in this game!" And like,
I guess I missed the. I mean, I kind of thought, is that a bomb or something? That's weird. It can't be. It must be magic.
I had this like, they're calling it javelins of light, but those were motherfucking like.
Did they use that term in
Those
that
are missiles.
cutscene? I don't remember
Yeah.
it if they did.
My people, at least, that was the term that they landed on. Like, Claude would be like, they called these mysterious javelins of light down.
Okay.
But I was like,
I don't remember that line. It might have been used, but it
Scream
didn't
it.
jump out to me. I think I was just shocked, and it happened so fast. I was like,
yeah.
and it also felt somewhat similar, just in line with the whole Dimitri thing of like, is this all just a like? Does
all a fever
does
dream.
anything matter? You know what
Very
I mean?
nihilistic storytelling. So here's and like, it also caught me off guard because the Death Knight's horse just runs like totally 180 like perpendicular to gravity down this wall before it happens too. So I could see why you're feeling a little like
What is going on?
out of sorts.
Yeah.
So I want to back up a little bit and talk about before this battle for
Yes.
me. Claude is like, y'all go ahead. You storm this fortress,
Okay.
and I am going to come back and help, but I have a special plan, and you just have to trust me. So he shows up with tons of Almerian forces all on wyverns, whichever way. I don't know. I say wyverns.
Me too.
In the north corner. And this was a really fun battle for me. I don't want to spoil everything, but there were a lot of different objectives, and then the objectives changed in the middle of the battle. And so the units weren't particularly challenging, but navigating the shift was really fun for me.
Gotcha.
But after we win this battle, even though there was the great explosion, he has changed the minds of many of his soldiers about the Almerian people.
Remind me, I have a really hard time with this game keeping track of all the different
Okay.
names of people, like, or
Yes.
types of people. Almerians, remind me, where are they geographically, and or who are they aligned with?
So they are east of Fodlan, and they are seen...
Like they're not on the continent, or they're on the eastern side?
They're
Or not on the...
on the same continent, but they're not in the same country.
Okay.
And the border to the east of the Lannister Alliance is the Almerian people. And they're brown and they have red eyes. Cyril is one of them. And Claude is half Almerian. And so this is where we learn, and he's putting into play, he's hoping to diminish the racism and xenophobia between the Fodlish,
Okay.
and the Almerian people.
I'm looking at a map now, and this is helping me. Okay. Because I think I didn't study the map well enough, and I just kind of rolled with whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Okay.
But they're often talked about as like, think of Game of Thrones, the people who live across the sea.
Right.
It's kind of a similar
Okay.
brown people that live to the east,
Right.
not as sophisticated as us, is kind of the stance of the
typical
Fodlish people.
racist fantasy fare. Okay.
That's right.
That's interesting because that did not happen at all for
Yes,
me.
yes.
It was not at all anything like that.
And that's so we've been waiting for like Dimitri's big scheme to come about, and so this like
Dimitri or Claude?
Claude. So I feel like Claude is more of a Dimitri, and
They got their
Dimitri is
names
more of a
mixed
Claude.
up.
Yeah. Do you know how you like meet people and they tell you your name and you're like, that's not your name. I can see into your soul and you have a different name.
I've never really personally felt that way, but I understand what you're talking about.
Okay.
I have friends like I have two brothers who are twins, and one of my friends always insists that their names are backwards.
Oh.
But to me, it's like, well, no, they're not. They're just
Yes.
that's how I've always known them, and it makes sense to me.
Yes.
But I understand the vibe.
All that to say, Claude, who I feel like Dimitri is more of a like charming. You're gonna
Name.
Yeah. Anyways, so Claude has been scheming all along to kind of break down the racism between the two countries, xenophobia between the two people's countries, because he is half Fodlinian and half Almerian.
That makes sense.
Yes.
Okay. So my chapter 18, then I got lots of rest again. And the plan here is that we're going to sneakily send a bunch of folks in to a bunch of different people to pose as peasants and things in Inbar of the church's soldiers and regroup and have a surprise attack directly on Inbar.
Yes.
And that's the plan. So the battle is in Inbar, presumably, like, but not in the like castle or the whatever. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, so like there's still one more.
Yes.
Did you have anything like this, like an outside? Like, so Hubert is the main person I'm fighting, and the Death Knight.
Same. Yes.
Okay. So I finally kill the Death Knight.
Yes.
And I kind of wish I had let Mercedes kill him to see if there was any dialogue there.
Why do you think there's dialogue there?
Did we not talk about this?
Maybe we did. There. Yes. Continue. Tell me.
You might not get this paralog battle because you don't have Caspar and Mercedes. I think you have to have both of them to get a paralog battle.
Yeah.
Spoiler, unless you don't want it.
Go for it.
Mercedes is the Death Knight's brother or sister.
Wow. So I knew you had to have Caspar and Mercedes on a team to learn who it was, but I did not know the identity.
It is Mercedes' brothers, not Yuritsa.
Yeah.
Unless that is her brother, which it can't be.
Yuritsa's off eating pizza.
Yeah. So I really wish I had let her kill him in hindsight, but I didn't. And she was even close. I was like, the Death Knight was kind of tricky to beat, or not super tricky to beat. But I was like,
I can get him.
I've got a blow right here with Shamir or Petra. It was definitely one of them.
Yep.
I don't remember which. I was like, so I just did it, and I was like, dang it, I should have, because nothing happened then.
Should've
It was
done it.
such a like. After all this buildup about her and that paralog and his relationship, I didn't get to see. I'm curious if there is some dialogue there. I bet you there is.
I'm sure there is. Did you so speaking of that paralog, did you feel like the explanation of who the Death Knight was and how he became the Death Knight satisfying?
No, not really. It just explained that it's Mercedes' brother, and it kind of hinted at, because I think Mercedes has a bit of a tortured past, right? She's got that whole adopted father weird issue.
Okay.
I don't know if you know any of that stuff.
I don't.
Do you have Mercedes on your team? Okay.
I do not.
Okay. Well, Mercedes got, like many of these people, issues in her life, and hers involve her family and like
family systems.
Like an adopted parent who was using her to get her nobility aspect to gain like power,
notoriety,
but not a good father. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And she was like lived in the church as a while as kind of an orphan and stuff like that.
That's why she donned the little nun hat.
Yeah, she's got an affinity for the church. So I think her brother suffered similarly / maybe worse even than her. And so it's like,
probably went to the same like magic academy. That's all I know, is that she went to a magic academy.
Yeah, I wish I knew more. It gave some background to him, but not quite enough. But enough to, I guess it's fine actually. You know, but for such an important character, it could have maybe used a little bit more. Okay. So anyway, for me, this whole battle was a little bit tough because Marianne kept dying to beasts. And then Hubert at the end is isolated. Like, in like he's like you can't get to him without there's a bunch of other like people. It's like it's really hard to get to him with your movement style because he can attack from such great range.
Yes,
and he's every hit he's taking 44 damage on whoever I send.
Wow.
And at this time I have a few people who have higher than 44, but if you send them up there, they get 44 off, and then somebody else, you know what I mean? Like. So the only way I was able to beat this was that I have Petra on a Wyvern.
Yes.
And she can take 44 damage and just fly right up to him and kill him, and then the battle was over. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like, so she took her 44, had that great movement so that she wasn't attacked by anybody else, and killed him.
Yes.
So that was how I was able to actually beat this. I think... I have this note that I had all my healers in one group. I wonder, I don't remember. This was one of those levels where they split you up at the beginning, I think.
Yeah.
Like one on the side and one on the bottom or it depends on how you visualize the map. But, and I think that was a little tricky for me. I think I'll say this probably one more time, but I really wish the game let you pick who was in which position out of your team. It does. Did I just never do that? Like, how do you select who's in which position at the start of a battle? Oh my gosh.
When you have the little spinny wheel,
you
go to the map.
Oh, okay.
And then the people who have the blue squares under them, if you click them, you can then move them to someone else who has a blue square.
Austin, that would have really made a few of these battles a lot different for me.
Yeah, because like often Byleth you can't move, and it's now hitting me that you don't have a
foolish
noble.
That I beat this game.
I'm impressed.
Without ever moving.
Yeah.
Because this was a huge complaint for me in the last several battles was like, why are they putting all my healers over there? Or like, why are they grouping these people with those people? I can't deal with this. And so on most of these maps, I would have to find ways to like converge. Well, I thought it was just part of the game. Converge everybody and then resort them into different groups. Austin has his head on the table. He feels so like I'm ashamed on my account.
I feel
that is revolutionary to me.
I didn't even think
I never made the complaint
until
now because this would have made a lot of I mean,
I'm impressed that you made it this far doing that because I feel like that is something that when I first started playing Fire Emblem and I thought I couldn't do that until I figured out I could, I was like, there's no way I'm playing this game. Like, so I'm impressed that you have stuck with this.
Well, this is another reason I thought normal is the difficulty for me. It's because, like, I can't... I don't know how I'd do this
how are my healers supposed to battle their way through half the map?
Exactly.
Every damn time.
Exactly. Or, like, my 5 weakest people are all put together or whatever. And then, or even just, like, even just within a group, my best people are in the back. You know what I mean? And I want them to be in the front. Or whatever.
Yes.
Like,
these are my frontline folks. Yeah.
I feel real dumb.
You shouldn't feel dumb. I feel bad that I was not able to help you.
If the game explained that, I missed it.
Oh, okay.
I think
it does real early when they're kind of throwing everything at you.
That's probably when it happened, when I'm just like, I'll figure all this out later because I can't absorb all this new information at once. Which is a problem I have with complicated games, right? Like, which is why some games try to slowly feed all that and make the mechanics more complicated. And I think that sometimes also feels annoying, but I guess that's the upside of it. So anyway, I managed to do it. And I think if I had been able to this is going to be a theme now because I'm like, well, this battle was tough because all my people were not grouped well.
That's hilarious. Yeah, all my in battles, beginning positioning was like
crucial.
Super key. Yeah.
Okay, well, so Dedue? How do you say this guy's name?
I just say it Dedue.
Dedue? I don't feel like I heard it very much in game. Dedue shows up, and again, he's like...
Do characters not say his name often in your... I mean, I don't know. I didn't play with him at all.
Not really, because he's so secondary. You know, he's not Dimitri.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like, he's Dimitri's right hand.
You mean Claude?
So anyway, he shows up and he's like, I'm going to kill Edelgard. And he's like, but I'm not going to work with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
This happened to you too?
Same.
This is the same problem I had with him again of like, dude, everybody, we're all even if we're not on the same side, which I think we are,
Yes.
we're all working to the same end, and just work together, please.
Yes. So I didn't understand his, like, he even gave me, like, here are my maps into secret passages in the castle for you to do this. So, like, I'll give you the information, but then I won't join you. I'm just going to run off and do my own thing. It seemed really silly to me.
Yeah, it was really weird. How was this battle for you? Who could move people around?
This is the one against Edelgard in the castle, right?
Did you cover the one against Hubert in the Death Knight?
The Imbar. So
Or what was you didn't have people? What was your story too? Because was it the same of like let's sneak in there?
Yes, it was the same as let's dress up, and like Hilda was the person who got to suggest like, oh, let's dress up, and
Gotcha.
This was the first time, her idea is kind of what we went with and panned out, and so she had this like great victory in the character moments. It was great.
I wish I could remember who suggested it in the game because I feel like it was a similar situation of like, or maybe it was Byleth actually. I don't know. Honestly,
Okay.
I don't remember.
Like Flayn or somebody.
Yeah,
Your favorite.
Yeah.
Last episode did I talk about the wind collar? We
I don't think so.
okay. We'll talk about this after.
Okay.
So my Imbar was a pretty easy battle. The thing that stuck out to me was that beast reinforcements. This was the first time we saw beast reinforcements.
Yeah, because they all keep coming from that one side or whatever.
Yeah, both from the top and kind of close to both the deployment zones.
Right.
And so it initially felt like, oh, this map is really easy. But with those extra reinforcements and with that split near Hubert. But once again, I had a Pegasus Knight, which was Marianne. I had a Wyvern fella, lady, who is Hilda. And then my Claude is also an archer on a Wyvern. And so, like,
if you have flying units...
Yeah,
that made the Hubert thing easier. I don't think I had very many powerful flying units.
And they had
except for Petra.
Archers that were a little bit of a pain to remove first, but once they were removed, it's like, all right, dinner time.
Gotcha.
So I just moved in and killed them. And this was, from my story perspective, the first time I got confirmation that the Death Knight was not Hubert.
Or Yuritsa. Or Hubert?
Well, yeah, because...
You thought he was Hubert?
I just did not have evidence that he wasn't.
Gotcha. I've had plenty of battles against the Death Knight where Hubert was on my team.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
So
Hubert, to me, is like tied to the side of Edelgard, and I felt like, oh, that's probably too obvious for him to be the Death Knight, but also, like, could be. And so them being on the same map was, like, the strong... But I had no idea that he wasn't Yuritsa, because I once again had no idea what happened to Yuritsa.
Right, I don't either. And that's one of my lingering questions.
Yeah. So when I killed the Death Knight on this map, I was like, wait, that's it? I'm not...
Yeah, I feel like there should have been a little more there for everybody and anybody. And I feel like if you have Mercedes on your team the whole time, the Death Knight's arc makes more sense.
Okay.
Because he's like doesn't want to attack his sister necessarily unless he has to.
Does he say that?
Sort of in the paralog battle, you get a chance at the end, and he's like, "I'm gonna."
That's why
this
he's just
is my
back.
last chance. This is like I'm not, and that kind of makes sense to think like, oh, he's just hanging back. He's on their side, but he doesn't really want to kill these people because his sister is involved, right?
That makes a lot more sense.
But it doesn't make as much sense if Mercedes not on your team.
Yes, that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, that's a good point. But so I don't know, this was a pretty straightforward fight. This one, this is honestly one of the fights that kind of frustrated me, though, because it didn't really feel like it advanced the story very much, and it feels like it is just there as a
stopgap kind of, or an extra chapter.
Yes, and to like continue to build the tension of getting to Edelgard, but it's like I'm just
for me
over it.
It felt like because I'm killing Hubert, that feels big.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because Hubert was once my
he was on your teammate.
Yeah. So that felt a little more impactful, I think, when
you're
coming on the church route.
That makes a lot more sense.
But then, so the next chapter, are we ready to move on to that, or any other thoughts on?
I'm ready
on that one. The next chapter, which is my 19 and your 20, I'm guessing this is the same too, right? I was really wondering if there was going to be a calendar, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because
Let's
it's
stop
like,
at the.
this is like, are we just going to go back for a month? And but it was like, no, we're pressing right on. So this is a
Just right
quote
into
unquote chapter, but it is really like just a sudden straight to battle thing,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
That was that way for you too.
It was that way for me too, and I think the only other time this happened was for me at the time skip, and I think maybe for you too, where you just get thrown into that one battle without having time to
Yeah, that might be right actually.
to prep.
So, caveat that I did not know how to move units around at the beginning of the battle.
Yes,
But I have a note. This battle was fucking tough for me. And again, maybe if I'd been able to move units around.
yes,
And I think part of it was I was having issues with the strategy portion, which in a lot of ways I hadn't been forced to deal with playing on normal. Maybe I feel like normal was the right choice for me, but I feel like it's almost like a handicap that hinders in some ways towards the end of the game, because it's like I haven't had to worry about some things that I started to have to worry about, and it felt really dramatically all
kind
of a sudden
new, yes. Mm-hmm.
And like maybe I would have made some different choices and things if I had, you know what I mean?
Yes. Well, and that's so I see a lot of people just streamlining characters in the roles that they kind of obviously should go in. Part of why my team wouldn't have had someone with really strong resistance but also decent offense, I feel like, if I didn't take my Marianne into the Pegasus Knight route, and she became clutch in a number of these chapters.
Let's talk about Marianne.
I
let Marianne die in this battle.
Oh no! But you didn't have permadeath on.
I did.
And even with the wheel, the Divine Pulse,
I just couldn't keep her alive.
Oh no!
And I just decided that she had to die. Like, is the only way for me to beat this is, like, you know what I mean? Like, if I keep Divine Pulsing to keep Marianne alive, she just kept getting one-shotted no matter what I did.
Wow.
And once again, maybe if I had been able to do my positioning a little bit differently.
Yeah.
But I just couldn't. I restarted this one a few times. I Divine Pulsed her back a lot. And I just was like, you know what? She's not worth it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
Marianne, you are worth it.
It's my fault. Like, I think I waffled on what she should do because of the sword issue that crept in.
Yeah.
And like, I never got her to where I wanted. I wanted her to be a flying, or at least on a horse, I think I was aiming for. I never got her on the horse. And so she didn't have good movement. God. And so, and she was stuck in this weird place of having okay sword skills, but
she had this
not
unfulfilled life.
She really
died
did.
on the battlefield. At least you made it to the final battle.
Well, this isn't the final battle.
Don't tell Marianne that.
It was her final battle in my playthrough. So, yeah, I was like, you know, she never got where I wanted her to. Oh well.
Yeah.
You know, like, but I can't keep her alive, and it's hindering me, and I have other units.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, it's not like I'm short a unit here.
Yes.
So I just let her die.
That's fascinating. And this is also, so the like growth rates for leveling up and all of that kind of stuff, characters can really blossom or not, kind of based off of RNG, right? And so she's someone for me who she was like my in chess, you know, you have the knights that can do like the L's, they move different than everyone else. Once again, she wasn't the strongest, but she was a Pegasus Knight, and she could do magic attacks with her sword from 3 tiles away with the 11 sword, and mages couldn't touch her because her resistance was so high.
Gotcha.
That like if magic was the threat, I would just plug that magic hole with my Marianne,
right,
and then do my business.
I never got her up to her potential, and on this battle was really hard for me, and I had like 3 people in the wings, Bernadetta, Caspar, and Cyril, who are also not very weak, or were not very good too, but it's like, you know what, I've got these other 3 people I'm letting her die. And then I'll just plug in one of them, and hope they can't be any worse than her.
Yep. And if they die too, like
we'll
so
get to
be
that.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
So I think also this is one of the first battles where I realized like I don't have to kill all the units. Or you know what I mean? Like I'd never had this strategy of had to have the strategy of just gun for the goal.
Yes.
But this battle, I was having so much trouble until I was like, you know what? I just need to push forward and go try to kill Edelgard. And then I'm like, oh, this is actually working. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I was like, when it first started, I was like, there's all these people behind me. I better clear some of them out.
See, you and I had different reactions to this. I thought, what the fuck are all these other people on the map for? I'm cussing a lot tonight.
It's fine. I'm fucking into it.
But
it's probably my fault. I like to cuss.
Yeah, you're a bad influence on me,
sailor.
Patrick. But there's all these other fucking people south of my team, and I'm like, why do I care about you? Because I'm just gonna trudge forward and take Edelgard out.
Yeah,
that's what we're here for. Why do I care about all these other randos?
Right.
But I quickly learned like
there's chests and stuff down there, right?
So there's chests, but I was like, oh, I'm gonna kill you, and then I'm gonna send my person who can lockpick things, my big knots. So he's gonna go down there and he's gonna take all the treasure. And I'm not worried about those. So there were layers of doors, and there were the left and right doors, and then the middle door.
Mm-hmm.
And I initially was like, I don't need all those door keys to go through. And, like, I have keys in my inventory. Those doors ended up being really important after Dedue came.
Okay.
Because when he shows up in the right corner,
right,
there's all these enemies over on that right side. So here's a question. Were you able to save Dedue?
Yeah, he survived.
Okay. So he initially did not survive for me, so I turned back time because I didn't have a key to get through that right side in order to like back him up as much as I wanted to, and I was just breaking through the middle door right as he was kind of storming from the right into the left. And so I had someone use the rescue spell to boop him down into the middle to teleport him. And then, like, he forgot about fighting Edelgard, and there were some guys in the bottom right corner that I didn't fight, and he, like, ran down and fought them while my forces moved in for the kill.
I had a similar situation that just kind of randomly worked out. I thought he might die because it got close, but he showed up, and it was really nice because he just cleaned out the whole side of all those Imperial soldiers, that whole right side. And like
he was doing that until he got to the mages for me.
I went just straight up the gut in this with my entire team, and went right for Edelgard, and he staved off the whole right side, and all I had to deal with was, you know, a few things coming from behind and stuff on the left. And it was once I switched to that strategy of just gun right up the middle with everybody to kill Edelgard, it wasn't too bad, and maybe I got some good RNG on and I would have, because he did survive, I would have liked to seen a little bit more from him in the ending of the like the cutscene, like at least Dimitri's avenged, but I don't think I even saw him at all in the cutscene.
So that's, I feel like he was another one of those things that if you kept him alive, you got a little bit better like loot at the end, but I wish that there was some greater payoff to
acknowledge him at least.
Right.
He helped me out.
Hey, I acknowledge you. Did you? I don't know your name. You.
And so I imagine my cutscene might have been a little bit different than yours here. Just
Tell me about
because of the route, maybe not. It was a cutscene of me talking to Edelgard, and it's like, it looks like I'm about to cut her head off. Oh, yep, I'm about to cut her. Oh, yeah, I think that's what just happened. Did you similarly execute her?
That was me too. And she has this beautiful speech that I don't remember right now, but she's like, I believed in everything I did. I wouldn't take any of it back. But now you have to kill me, and like looks you in the face.
Yeah, maybe it's identical.
Gets down on her knee, and you. Whoosh.
Yeah, that was intense.
It was really intense. She gives beautiful speeches. Even though I did not side with her, like I get it.
Yeah.
She is motivational.
Yeah. So I think that's at that moment I was like, well, I have to accept that I have my first dead character now. Marianne is dead. She's gone.
Shoo away.
You know what? I didn't really like her new haircut anyway. Maybe that's for the best. Is that just a justification for it? I don't know.
I'm glad that I am prematurely bald so that I'm not constantly worried about Patrick judging me for my hair, whether or not my life has value.
I don't think you're gonna have an anime haircut, so I think you're okay.
If I had hair, it would be an anime hairdo.
So my story here, Hubert has left a message for us. Is this
Yes.
same
Note from Hubert.
Just in case this happened, there's the true threat, the allies of Tomas and Monica. They're who destroyed Fort Mercius, and we have to deal with them. And also, Rhea's alive in a secret chamber.
Yes.
So, same thing?
Same thing. So, Hubert is telling us that those who slither in the dark are the true enemies.
Right, slither in the dark.
That Edelgard was going to turn her heel on them as soon as she reunited all of Fodlan under her rule.
Edelgard's got her priorities wrong. I think this is where I'm like, you know what?
Yeah.
You got in bed with super evil people? I don't think it makes sense to me to be like, we need to readjust society. So I'm going to take these people who are maybe the biggest threat
and
ally with them to refix society, and then I'll deal with them.
Well, in there also, it seems like she's also aware that they're the people who are more directly to blame for her trauma. And so that's the piece that doesn't quite make sense to me.
Yeah.
Is that she puts a lot of that blame on the church, and she does acknowledge that, like, really it was the hands of the people who are involved with those who slither in the dark who did it, but she thinks systemically it comes more from the church. But I have a hard time following her thought process there.
So I think you probably didn't have this talk because maybe you did, but Sedith is not on your team, right? Like you just don't have Sedith. Do you have Flame?
Oh, I do have Sedith on my team, but I don't use him very often, and he's not my leader the same way that
and he doesn't have like conversations and stuff. Okay.
No.
So Sedith at this point makes a comment about Rhea, and he calls her another of our kind here.
Yes.
And he says, I could never stand to. I'm like when we find out Rhea's alive, he's real happy because he's like, I couldn't stand losing another of our kind. And he talks something about the old days, and so I think that was like a very clear hint at some of the stuff. And he says it's time to stop hiding the truth about the goddess, the progenitor god, the truth about us. And I'm like, yes, stop hiding.
Please do.
I don't just.
Give me the story.
And he says something about these people who slithered in the dark and they've threatened the peace of Fodlan since ancient times. And he tells the story about Nemesis and the Red Canyon. And
what do you get about Nemesis and the Red Canyon here?
Like that this fits into the people who have slithered in the dark, and that the Red Canyon was a fight involving them.
Okay, so pretty vague.
Yeah, it wasn't like It wasn't like a history of it. It was just kind of, and these are my notes, so I also don't, remember this super well.
And you get that from Seteth.
Yeah, he's telling this sort of story of like who these people that are slithering in the dark with, and that we can't allow the history of the Red Canyon tragedy to repeat itself.
So I get a very similar Claude and I. So
Claude's been reading them books in the library. He knows all this stuff.
That's right. So he's ready to confront her, and he's been pretty calm and collected.
Confront her being Rhea.
So we go down to the secret chamber that she's been kept in, and before we set her free, he really attacks her and loses his shit. Like, he's usually calm and collected, and he's like, listen, before we let you free, you have to tell us what's going on here. And she gives a pretty basic answer of they're the true enemies. They've always had it out for the church. Even when Edelgard was turning, I knew they had to be behind the scenes on this. And he's like, no, but why, impresses her, and she gives another kind of vague, they're the original enemies of the goddess. What happened at the Red Canyon was, their first kind of rebellion. We have pushed back, and they have been trying to finish us ever since. This is also where she kind of drops this name, kind of like this name of a particular peoples that I'm going to call the lizard people.
Right. This is another name, one of these many names that I couldn't keep track of.
That's right. That she is a part of, and that she says she is the last of in this moment, which is interesting because I had pieced together, and it sounds like in your cutscenes that she is not the last one, but she still kind of says that she is.
So there's sort of a halfway thing, which I think we'll talk about at 20 or so, where that comment could make sense.
Okay.
But yes, she's not really, but she kind of is.
Yes.
Yeah. Cool. So now we're back to the calendar.
Back to the calendar. Get to mark things off.
And I was like, oh, maybe I should have tried harder to save Marianne because I wasn't sure if I had a chance to upgrade her. You know what I mean? Like anymore. So it was like, we just went into that battle. Are we just going to go to the next? You know what I mean? Is this the end? Like, because we're about to kill Edelgard?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, is
this the conclusion? Yeah.
Like, so I don't really, but now I'm like, oh, maybe if I could have saved her, maybe I could have gotten her back into useful shape. But I don't think 1 month worth of studying would have fixed it.
Nah. I feel like at this point, your characters are pretty set.
You're not gaining a lot in chapter 20. You're not making any huge breakthroughs, at least. Yeah. I mean, maybe, but
I am kind of glad that I stuck around and killed the beasts in chapter 20 because I felt like I had characters that went up at least 2 or 3 levels off of that.
Yeah, well, that's probably why there's all those people in the back, is that like if you need
final XP farming,
if you need that XP for the next couple battles. So we're back to the calendar. This is my chapter 20, your chapter 21, I'm guessing.
The city without light.
I'm glad you wrote these things down. Everyone's real happy in my storyline that Rhea is back.
Uh-huh.
I have a question. Did Claude just decide to make the monastery the base of operations or something?
He did, but it was like, we can pretend to be a continuation of the church because that will inspire people, because people are inspired by the church. I don't believe in it, but people really like it.
And was it, and in your storyline, I'm sorry, this is another general question. Dimitri at this point, just not mentioned? Because you said at that battle he didn't really die, or he did?
So he didn't die. He just kind of ran off. And then when Dedue shows up, I think maybe Dedue either dropped a comment about Dimitri, like maybe he's still out there.
But we don't know.
And he's kind of doing the...
That's weird.
Yeah.
He should just have died.
Yeah.
I think it would have made the story cleaner.
I think he made a vague comment that I was like, does that mean he's still out there? Does that mean he's dead? It wasn't really clear.
Okay.
So no strong conclusion there, if I remember correctly.
So everyone's happy about Rhea being back, and mine, but also worried about her because she's very injured as well.
Yes.
Is this similar in yours, or people don't give a shit about Rhea because they're not, you know what I mean? Because it's a different path.
So everyone's pretty concerned about her except for Claude, who's still like, she's hiding shit. He's really suspicious of her.
Is he guarding her?
He's kind of like hanging out around her door waiting.
Sedith is blocking her in mine of being
Sedith
like
and Flayn
she needs to be resting right now or whatever, you know.
I think that was the same for me, and then I think Claude was out in the courtyard area, kind of waiting. Whenever she wakes up, I'm gonna continue to ask and try to get answers from her.
Gotcha.
Yep.
So,
and we learn that we return. So my people don't want to return to the castle, but we do with Rhea because we've learned that there is an anti-missile shield around so we're worried about the magic that we saw blow up the doodly-doo, the javelins of light, and then they say, Rhea says if we go back to the monastery, they can't hurt us there because there's a special protective field there.
Oh, okay.
And so that's why they do have this power, but they haven't used it on the monastery yet, and the monastery had to be taken over by, toppled by Edelgard and her forces. They couldn't just...
Interesting. That might have been said in mine, but if it did, it didn't stick with me.
Okay.
So one thing I want to mention here is I had my A rank between Linhardt and Flane.
Oh.
And all of a sudden they're real flirty talking.
All right.
Which was...
Your face was like maybe you weren't sold on the idea of them being flirty talking.
Well, the first two were very funny between them because Linhardt's like, hey, what's going on with your crest? I've got a similar crest, but you're one of the only people like this, and you look like the saint, and yada, 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 and asking a lot of questions that make her uncomfortable. But now it's like he's like, maybe we should get married.
We got the same crest, girl.
Yeah, and some of it's like, I think
fate.
a selfish wants to get married because, like, then I can study you a little bit.
Ew.
But like, it's also, but that's just kind of Linhardt. It's okay. It's not creepy.
Was it like, I want to get down with my ancestor?
No, it's just, I wish I could remember it. I should rewatch it or something. But I just wrote that it was,
okay.
And maybe it wasn't just them, but it's like everybody's A rank was real flirty. Was that true for you too?
Yes, I think all of them are
like hinting at maybe
we could be something more. Yeah. This is also a good place for me to say if you have Claude on your team, so if you chose Golden Deer, there is a prologue called the Wind Caller that you can do, and the boss beast, you should put Flane and Seteth on your team if you have them, and have them attack the beast.
Oh, is there some dialogue?
And there's some special dialogue there.
Oh, interesting. What is it? Tell me.
So the Wind Caller ends up being Masuil, one of the saints. The other saint.
Okay.
The saint of sword and magics. When you use your renown. And so you get pretty explicitly like Flane calls him uncle, tells him to go back to sleep, and so when you defeat him, he doesn't die, he just goes back to sleep. But he's one of the saints, and he's one of these ancient people,
right,
who can transform into dragons and things, but he's given up on humanity and feels like Saros and the Church of Saros is all a lost cause.
Okay.
And has kind of turned against and has kind of hermited himself.
That's interesting. Yeah. And that fills in the gap of what's the deal with the fourth.
That's right. Well, and there's another one too.
Okay. I wasn't sure if the other one was supposed to be like you or like or not. You know what I mean? Like,
okay.
But I think it makes more sense what you're about to tell me, or if you're about to say something.
There's another paralogue that I don't have, but I looked this up as I was like, who
maybe on
is
the
fourth?
Other route or whatever.
You have to have Leone and you just talked about him, Sleepyhead. Linhardt. Leone and Linhardt, which I have no idea how those characters are connected. I just know that
they may not be. It's similar to the Mercedes and Caspar thing. That's super random. They're not connected. It was just like Caspar is like, let's go kill the Death Knight, and Mercedes is like, wait, you know what I mean?
Yes. Like, so we'll see. But I've seen and I've avoided spoilers of how, but apparently that answers what the
other
fourth
one
saint's up to.
Cool, that makes sense.
Yep.
So we follow Hubert's map here to an underground city for those who slither in the dark,
which is under the Opera House.
Oh, I didn't put that together.
Yeah.
You're much better at picking up on these details. I think I
am a sucker for minor details.
That's not a bad thing. I'm normally pretty good at details, but a lot of these things I think I'm just in the moment, and the big stuff is what's sticking with me.
Just taking it in. I get you.
and we're fighting this underground thing, like these Titanus things, like in Tails or however you say this guy's name is there, and it's a futuristic area with like
and it's dubstep.
Yeah, and the music's real different. I didn't put it together that it was dubstep.
Yeah, and you have this kind of like technological looking world.
And I think if I had been able to put people where I wanted to at the beginning of this battle, it wouldn't have been as hard.
This one would have been an awful one to just...
It wasn't terrible for me,
Really?
though. I actually...
Because it's all four corners, right?
I had to divine pulse, right. And I think if I could have put... Well, this is the tact I took on every battle was like, they separated me, get everybody back together. And then figure out what to do.
That is hysterical and awful. Like, I cringe thinking about you playing this way because I would have been so upset.
Well, it makes so much sense to know that because it's like every battle I'm like, okay, I got to regroup my team. But this one wasn't a tricky one to regroup your team because you're all on that outside ledge.
Yeah.
So really, you only have a couple people that are between you on each row. So it wasn't that hard to regroup my team.
Cool.
And I didn't regroup everybody, but to get like 2 groups together instead of 4. You know what I mean?
That's
like,
what I did too.
And kind of like that wasn't that hard. And honestly, I think I got I don't know if I got lucky. I had to divine pulse a bit in this one, but I've also learned after the Edelgard battle, like I'm just going for the goal here, right? Like I'm like, I don't need to kill everybody. I don't need to. I do need to kill the people in my way, and I need to find the most direct route. And then,
I'm not going to worry about every single little fella.
Right. Yeah. And then I was a little thrown off, and I can see in hindsight what I would have done better because, I think
sheds.
I think I'm kind of having to unlearn this strategy of grouping everybody together in this battle too. Like, and just like kind of gunning for it. And I have again a note in here. If I wish I could pick where people started.
Whoops.
But I also I kill what I think is the last guy, even though I'm like it's not Thales. And then there's that extra little hidden room. And I was like,
did you discover the other hidden rooms, the other sheds?
Probably not.
Okay.
I don't think I didn't realize there were any hidden rooms until and then I'm like, wait, why didn't I just win when I kill the one guy guarding the main hidden room? And then I'm like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. You know what I mean? Because I've got a couple people on the edge of dying, and there's just more of these fucking whatever those Titanus things are just marching on me. And
mechs.
And like Bernadetta and Caspar are not very good, and so like, I might lose some more people here. But I did not. I was able to. They were on the verge of it. Yeah. And I couldn't have done much about it without restarting the whole thing.
Yep.
But I strategically took out Thales, and again, this is where I think if I had been a little smarter about who was where, I could have done this better. But it wasn't too bad for me.
Gotcha.
How about you? How was this battle for you?
This battle was great for me. I feel like my characters... This is the level where, I saw my character's growth really, for instance, Leonie is my bow knight, and there was, a very thin to the left, when you're still on the upper level, and you're passing by one of the Titanuses or whatever. So
you could shoot at them from above, kind of a thing.
I would shoot at them while she was galloping across, and they were shooting at her, but she was dodging, and she wasn't doing tons of damage, but she was whittling them down as she was crossing to reunite with the rest of her team. I was able to. This level is one that I was able to kind of cinematically imagine all of this happening in really cool ways. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I think it does. That's cool. I see that.
I noticed there were all these little symbols on the ground on this level. So,
this is probably a prime area for that. There's a lot more to the story than is being shown to us, or
yeah.
It's just weird that this is all that they threw in this futuristic stuff, and this is where I think, the really clarity of. TV. The clarity of missiles came in, right?
Yes. Well, and if you do the zoom in, so I wonder if you even know this is a thing. Did you know you can zoom in to where you can move the individual characters around the battlefield? So, like, you would take on the
like see
movement
the
of,
perspective
like,
or something?
Linhart and run around with them, kind of like a third-person adventure game almost.
You know, I think I saw that at some point, but I never did it.
So-
Because I don't think I ever saw the point of it, but I guess here's a point, right? To like examine the...
Yeah. So they're like symbols on the ground in writing that looks like almost Russian-y.
Okay.
Like, it's not our alphabet.
Right.
It's not quite, but it's closer to Russian maybe. And then there's even a symbol that looks a little bit like the UN, like it's a blue planet with the little like blue garland leaf doodly doos going around it. And I was like, oh, this is fascinating.
Yeah, I got some real like Planet of the Ape vibes here from this game at this point, where I'm like, we're mixing like past and future kind of a thing. You know what I mean? Like, is this Earth after, you know what I mean, a fall in another Bronze Age or whatever, you know, or like another medieval age is coming up or whatever.
Yes.
Did you feel that way at all? Like, this is sort of like futuristic weapons.
Yes.
But they're actually from the past kind of a thing.
Yes. Kind of like a Battlestar situation.
Yes.
Yes.
That's another touchstone of that. Spoiler alert.
Oh.
Whatever.
It's too late.
It's way too late. And also, well, that's a whole nother conversation.
Or is it too early?
So we have the cut scene with the missiles launching. Rhea takes them down, right? In mine.
Yes,
Does that happen for you?
Transforms into the Immaculate
Right,
One,
right.
and she's blowing her fire, but she can't get them all, and so she kind of takes one for the team.
Yes.
And she like bleeds green or something.
Right. And so I think at this point I was like, well, I really don't know what's next. You know what I mean? Because I'm like, I was already surprised by this twisty turn of like Edelgard's not the end of the game. I don't know how I feel about this whole thing because it feels like it wasn't explored enough.
Yeah, I'm a little cranky about how this was all handled.
And like, I don't know that I feel like they're bad people. Like, they're forced to live underground and they have all this interesting tech and they aren't blowing up everybody. You know what I mean? Like, well, maybe they have a perspective that needs to be heard or something. You know what I mean? Like,
yes. So I also was like, hold on, who was this Tails character?
Yes.
We didn't really get anything about him. Does he activate something for you?
What do you mean?
So in my game, he like kind of gets this pedestal lit up even as y'all are killing him.
Yes. And that's attacking you or whatever?
Yes, and the missiles are happening, and then it cuts to something else. The machine he activated does another thing.
What is it? I don't remember if I saw it.
So there are these coffin-looking things that open up, and there's like steam that comes out, and then oh god, what's his name? The Liberator comes out, and he's still alive.
Okay.
Do you know who I'm talking about? The guy from the original cutscene.
Nemesis?
Nemesis comes out, and he's still alive.
And then what happens?
Well, I want to hear what happens for you before I keep going.
I don't remember any of that, so I don't know that happened. And
Okay.
if it did, I have a terrible memory.
Yeah. I feel like you would remember this.
All I remember is the cutscene with the missiles launching. Rhea takes them down, and she's injured. And
this is not your final chapter, though, is it?
No.
Okay.
And I'm being asked to be the leader of Fodlan, and I'm like, I don't know what's coming next. You know what I mean?
Ah.
And then we won. It's over. We're back at the monastery.
Okay.
Everybody is like, yay, we won. What could possibly go wrong?
Okay.
And that's it.
Okay.
So if Nemesis woke up, I don't remember it.
Okay. So there's like cryo tubes that open up, and there's other ones, but we only see him emerge, and it's Nemesis, and he looks kind of like from the original trailer that you see at the beginning of the game, but his eyes are black and he has red pupils, and he has a sort of the creator with him as well. And then it cuts to like, we all go back. We think that we've won.
Okay.
We go back to the monastery.
That may well have happened, and because it didn't have any payoff, I just forgot about it.
So it does have payoff for me. That's why I was like,
oh,
you probably know.
It does have payoff.
Yes.
Okay, it didn't have any payoff for me.
Okay. I think this might be the place where our stories finally diverge a little bit.
Maybe.
So
why don't you go first this time then? For like.
Okay.
Well,
because you still have some lingering questions that I feel like I get pretty directly answered.
Okay. Well, hang on. Before we
Tell
get
me
into
about
this,
how you
let's
wanna
just talk
go
about, because there's a final month here. Well, maybe there's not actually. I feel like I went around and talked to people.
Yes, I think I had a
final month.
I think I had a final month. I think I kind of rushed through it because I was ready
because it's like, this is the final month, and again, how much more stat boosting can I mean, maybe a little bit, but I would talk to everybody, and it was just that
Pretty
sort of cliched, hilarious thing of like, what could possibly go wrong now? And then you get to your father's death anniversary and marriage choice.
That's right.
Popped up. Who'd you pick?
I went with my man, Big Nuts.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. We'll get there. I was disappointed, so I went back and did it again.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I chose Petra. I stuck with it.
Good for you.
And then it's like, deploy for the final battle or whatever. All right. There's a final battle. You know what I mean? Like,
oh, so your people weren't anticipating anything. So for me, it was like someone else has shown up. Oh, I forget. So, you're talking to the town people. They're telling me someone else, the people around the church.
Yeah.
And they're telling me someone else has shown up flying a banner that has the crest of the flame on it. And
I think our stories diverge here.
Yes. And they're like, who could that be? And and it seems like this force has come out of where we just left. And so people
that
think
feels more
us.
Satisfying than what happened to me. I'm going to be honest with you, but continue and tell your story first. So Nemesis attacks?
Well, so that happens, and we're hearing rumors of that. And so Rhea hears this is happening, and she says, oh, that can only be one person. And we're like, who could that be? She says Nemesis. We're like, who's this? And she finally just lays out all the business.
Okay.
So
maybe they're not that different.
So Sothis arrived on the planet that Fodlan is on, or she says arrived at Fodlan, but I kind of wonder if they're extraterrestrial. But she doesn't say that. So Sothis arrives, and she decides to make children with her own blood. So once again, like, what that means,
Rhea does or Sothis?
Sothis does.
Okay,
is not made clear. And that she, Sothis, the progenitor god, and her children wanted to bring peace to the humans, but the humans, and they're not even really, I filled in this gap.
Okay, I'm going to take you a step back. Is there any talk about Byleth being in charge?
Being in charge? Yeah. Well, there's like, Byleth, you take over the church whenever, you'll replace me whenever that time comes.
But that's not a big or important thing?
No.
Okay. Go on.
Okay. So, so we learn Sothis created these children with her blood. Details are not clear. There are these humans that she uses another term other than humans for, that they try to rule over and bring peace to because they're constantly fighting. But the humans decide that they would prefer their fighting to the peace offered by the church and by Sothis. And so they turn on her. The two races fight. They win. The lizard people win against
Are they really lizard people? You keep saying that, but I just thought of
there's
them as
a
being.
term they give.
But they're just they
a
look
racial
normal,
term.
don't they?
Yeah, but they can turn into dragons.
Okay.
So that's why they're lizard people.
Okay.
Yeah.
When I think of lizard people, I think of like literally like like I don't. There's a name for them, but like D&D style humanoid lizards.
I also am into that as well. But then there's also that crazy guy who has a like hierarchy of people, and he thinks the government is controlled by lizard people. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, David Icke.
Yes.
Ike.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry. Go on.
So
definitely. Anyways.
So in Fire Emblem games in the past, there have been a dragon race called Manicheets. They replaced the term Manicheets with a new term, and it just didn't stick for me, as I want to call them Manicheets.
None of these race or tribe or whatever you want to call it names stuck for me in this game.
So the non-Manicheet dragon people win, and so my understanding is they Sothis becomes the progenitor god because she gives up her magical forces and energy to revitalize the land that has been ravaged by war.
This is a wonderful explanation that I did not get about the history of the world.
Yes. And through kind of that, her revitalizing the ravaged world, I think started like a new human race.
Okay.
And so they never say this explicitly, but I think the old human race biomechanical implants, and that's why they were able to do all the like weird sneaky and the changing shape
and missiles
but so I think they're like biomechanical, and that's why they call the characters creatures or animals your people, because you're like a new creation
thing. Okay,
that's right. And so she creates this whole new world.
That's so much more satisfying than my storyline, where just that whole underground thing just is not explained at all. Ever have any other mention at all.
Yes. And so Sothis falls asleep and like is almost dead, but not dead because of all of her energy went into revitalizing the land. They put her into this tomb, the sacred tomb that exists, and she and her children live in the canyon in peace and harmony with these other human tribes, kind of like slowly recreating civilization around them for thousands and thousands of years.
Okay.
Until someone shows up with the sword fashioned from her mother's corpse, powered by her mother's heart.
Okay.
And that is Nemesis.
Gotcha.
And slaughters her family in front of her. With using this weapon crafted from her mother's corpse.
Okay.
So he robbed her grave, and so those who slither in the dark infused him with Sophis's blood, and then crafted these weapons for him.
Okay.
So he kills everyone. He has other humans lug those bodies of the dragon people back to the mole people, those who slither in the dark, who then forge them weapons and infuse them with the blood. So those become the heroes that carry the blood and pass it on in lineage and have access to crests. And these are how the artifacts are forged.
Okay.
And so she goes off and pretends to be this like oracle to the humans from this goddess, and amasses an army to take down the Nemesis and his folks who have these weapons crafted from her family.
Okay.
And the other saints are other lizard people, other non-Manicheets who left that their little civilization at some point, and when the massacre happened, returned home to side with Rhea to kind of band together to prevent their annihilation.
Do you learn anything about Byleth's identity?
Not at all.
Okay.
So that's the piece you have.
Yeah.
So I assume at this point we are connected to Sothis. Obviously, we're connected to Sothis, and we know that the stone was her heart. And so I had kind of put together earlier.
Your predictions are all right, by the way.
I didn't want to say that prematurely, but that
I will confirm that for you in a
the
in a
stone
minute.
is Byla's heart. But I'm sure there's more to it as well, because that alone doesn't make a lot of sense.
I don't know. There's not a whole lot more, but you have a lot more things going on in yours than mine, to be honest with you.
And so now Nemesis has shown up once more, and we have to go fight him to finally. The implication is that this single conflict is kind of at the heart of all conflicts that have ever arose over the country.
Right.
And so if we're able to kill Nemesis, that will finally put all of this to rest, and everyone can move on. And there'll be new conflicts, but just not this one being rehashed over.
That feels
and over.
like a much better ending than mine.
Okay. What happens? I'm so curious about what happens in yours.
So the this whole month, it's like a really big deal. Everybody you talk to.
Oh, quick detail though.
Yeah.
Whenever the lizard people did get to Fodlan, it was this big like technological metropolis.
Oh, okay. So it is true that the past is the future, kind of a thing.
That's right.
So the Rhea's super injured.
Mm-hmm.
And the idea here is everybody's asking sort of, these are almost like separate questions of like, are you going to be the next leader of the church? Or are you going to be the next leader of Fodlan? And like everybody assumes you're going to do one or the other, or
maybe
not,
both.
Yeah. Like, and it's kind of like they're conflated, but they're actually kind of not conflated. And like, Rhea is like, wants you to do these things, like
yes.
like to be the next leader, and like you have like the whole like, you know, are you ready to make a decision about that, you know what I mean? And you can do it prematurely, like, you know how some months you can like skip the stuff by going and just, so you can go tell Sedith, are you ready to make a decision or
and
whatever,
accidentally skip a week or two.
Yeah. And so at the end you get there and you when you finally have to do this, it's Rhea, and she's not wearing her crown or her normal garb, right? She's just in this might be similar, and Flayn and Sedith are there, and she's gonna tell me something. I'm supposed to tell her whether I'll be the next ruler, and she'll tell me the truth about my identity, or about Byleth's identity, right? And she says, hold nothing back. Though I still have a lot of questions. And so she says she created Byleth.
Oh wow!
And within is the crest stone of the progenitor god. She hid it in Byleth.
How?
Well, so she really, really wanted to see the goddess. I didn't take great notes here. I was doing this as I was but it says it basically, she's like, she really wanted to see the goddess, even if it meant doing something was forbidden. So she created 12 beings. Like the number 12, does that fit into the tarot or anything? I don't know.
Disciples, 12 disciples.
Yeah. Which all of them failed. And the last one fell in love with somebody, with one of her knights, Geralt. You know what I mean? And died in childbirth, and in order to save the child, she put, like you thought, the crest stone from the sword or whatever in for the heart or whatever.
How did she create the other people?
It's not really explained. Or it might have been, and I glossed over it. It was something, she did something that was forbidden. She maybe taking parts of the progenitor, maybe similar to like what Nemesis did or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's kind of the vibe I got. I didn't. This was all pretty quick, not as detailed as yours, and maybe it's just my notes aren't as detailed.
Yeah.
But
and maybe however children are made by these dragon people, like,
I don't.
That was never clear.
It wasn't clear that she said they failed, but I didn't know if that meant they died, the 12 beings she created, or if they just weren't what she wanted them to be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
like houses for the progenitor god or whatever. I think she really wanted to see the progenitor god, and so she's creating these things to do that using stuff from, I think, probably like you said, the corpse. I'm guessing.
Sure, to
That's
regenerate
sort of me,
her in some way.
Yes,
Yeah.
I think that's sort of me projecting it on there.
Okay.
But I think that's essentially it. And then like something really weird starts happening to Rhea.
Oh.
And people start changing into white beasts. She's like corrupted. I didn't make really great notes about this because this all really happened super fast, and it also, I don't think it was super well explained.
Yeah.
But like similar to what you said in terms of like putting blood into people, Rhea has put her blood or the progenitor god or whatever's blood into like a lot of the church's high up people.
Yes.
And everybody that has that is now corrupted.
Oh.
As a result of Rhea being corrupted, and like Rhea turns into the Immaculate One and like is out of control, and all these other people are like frenzied and are turning into white beasts, and they're all out of control. And so my final battle is against Rhea.
How did you feel about that?
I didn't really love it.
It feels like a kind of bamboozly.
Yeah. I feel like all the lead up to Edelgard makes sense, and then these two things felt a little bit tacked on.
Yeah.
I don't entirely mind it. There's something kind of interesting about Rhea ending up being the last battle, but I also kind of liked Rhea, and I was hoping to like have her by my side at the end. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I didn't do my research on this. I was hoping that maybe Rhea would be a playable character at some point.
Yeah.
And I might get to use her in a battle against Nemesis or something like that, you know, as like an ally or something. But
did you ever do the battle where you protected her?
Yes.
Yeah. Where she was just a badass. She like shot magic at people from like 10 tiles away.
I wish that I could have used her.
Yeah.
Instead of killing her. So like that was the gist of it. I don't have as good a notes as you did, I guess, or it wasn't as in depth. I don't think it feels like it was faster and shorter than yours too.
It was a lot of, and so I found it all very interesting. I went back and rewatched this cutscene.
Yeah, I should have done that before that we recorded. I should have rewatched some of these ones.
Yeah. Oh, I watched it like 3 times after it happened, just because it was this massive information dump.
Yeah, mine was not a huge information dump.
Yeah.
It was like, it felt like it was going over it a little too fast. Of like, wait.
Slow down. Explain this.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Give me a little more detail on how you created 12 people, and that I'm half what am I half what then? You know what I mean? Like,
yeah. And I'm sorry, Rhea, but like, I'm not 100% sure. You're giving me the kind of details that I've been looking for, but I'm not sure I can trust you at this point. And so like the fact that I didn't get any like cutscenes or anything to accompany this, I thought was also a little odd. Of like,
yeah, there was no cutscenes on mine either.
Yeah. Of these pivotal big things, I felt like is odd that I'm just getting it all in text.
Right.
Yeah.
So your fight is against
so
Nemesis?
We're like in the swamp of poison.
Wait, you're in where's this swamp?
I don't know.
Mine is the monastery. It's the monastery map, and Rhea is a giant beast there.
Okay. Yes, I'm in a poison
new
swamp.
map you've never seen before.
New map, and so Nemesis is all the way to the right. And then there's the 10 heroes that also resurrected with him with their relics, which also doesn't make sense because some of my characters have those relics.
Gotcha.
So, I don't know. I guess
there's another copy of it.
That's right. Yeah, I guess if they're made out of like arm and legs, there can be 2 of them. So, all that to say, he has like crazy magic that is making him super strong and protected, and I have to kill all 10 of the heroes before I can even dream about fighting him.
Wow.
Yep. And then there's other just rando soldiers on their side as well who are helping them.
Was it hard?
It it was pretty hard. I had to be very intentional about my placement. And so I thought, oh, this is really hard. I got to the final guy and I'm going to kill him now. And then like almost none of my characters could damage him, even after I had removed his magical shield. And I had Hilda who could damage him. I had Raphael who could damage him.
You mean like they did no damage, or they just did chip damage, like 1 or 2 hit points?
1 or 2 hit points, but then would have been annihilated by him.
Gotcha.
And so then I think it was kind of forcing me. And there was some like, oh, I learned that his tile also gives him like extra avoid and something else. And so if I use one of my gambits to move him off, I can do just a little bit more with some folks. And I was like, oh, I can definitely kill him if I'm okay with sacrificing like 2 or 3 people to allow them to die. And like everything else was challenging, but not to that level. And I finally put together just like the one perfect solution, and it wasn't even like Hilda had like a 78% chance of hitting him. And she does. And so that's how it ended. All that to say, like, he just felt just like almost invulnerable, and like they were forcing my hand that I had to lose some folks in this final exchange with Nemesis.
Rhea was similarly like really hard to do damage to.
Yeah.
She takes up like 6 tiles.
Oh, 6 or 9?
It might have been 9. It is an enormous amount of tiles.
Yeah.
I feel like it was 6, but it might have been 9. You might be right.
Okay.
Probably 9. And the way the map is laid out, she's like in between like several walls, kind of. So you can you can kind of surround her, but the people aren't right next to each other because there's a wall. So like your movement is limited. Like you have some people who are like on a narrow passageway right next to her if you surround her. Okay. You know what I mean? And like they can't move up and down. They can only move back.
Yes.
If they wanted to run away or whatever.
So they have to go down these different corridors.
Yeah. You have to go down sort of different corridors. So this map was it was the monastery map, but like again, I've now been conditioned to just gun for the goal. So I'm gunning for the goal, and I go to kill Rhea, and it's like Sedith is like, no, we can't attack her while there's reinforcements coming from the south. We have to take the south. And there's like a tile you have to go claim on the south before you can like even think about killing her.
Yeah.
So after I realized that, which took a few restarts because it took me a minute to kind of figure some of this stuff out.
This is what I need to do. Yeah, this is my objective
right,
first.
Exactly. Yep. I went to do that, and once I realized that, I think it only took me 1 playthrough. I lost a couple people in this battle, but that's just because they were underpowered. Like, you see, this is the first time I could bring this many people in.
Yeah.
It's like everybody pretty much. And so Bernadetta died. Cyril died. I never used Cyril.
Poor little Cyril.
Yeah, poor Cyril. It really is kind of sad, actually.
Did they have a heartbreaking death?
I guess. Not for me.
Not for you. So no.
No, I guess
you're
not.
like, bye.
Well, it was
Bye,
just kind of
Felicia.
like, you're not doing much for me anyway.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't have minded them being alive, especially once I beat the game and realized it would have been nice to have kept everybody alive to get their story. It was sad to see.
Get the little
died in
epilogues.
battle or whatever. But
did they get a card, but it just said died in battle?
Yeah.
Okay.
So this wasn't too hard. Like, you don't get anything about what they went on to do with their lives because their lives ended. I had to restart it to let it. Oh, no, wait. It wasn't Cyril. It was Caspar that I let die, which I really wish I hadn't because I got into Caspar at the very end. And I only let him die because it was the second to last turn.
Okay.
Like, I had Rhea down to the very end, and, like, he died, and I'm like,
Yeah.
I just got one hit. Like, am I going to really Divine Pulse a few turns back to move him out of the way and then do this again? I was like, no, I got one hit left to do.
Yeah.
So that wasn't even that intentional. That's what it was. I was looking at my notes there. But I regretted that one because that one I could have avoided. And like, I actually found out what happened to Caspar.
You looked it up anyways.
I haven't yet, but maybe next time I'll let him live.
That's great.
So You have to like. I ended up having to clear out the map.
Oh.
Because, and I don't know that you have to do that, but you get this vibe when you attack her that like, if you attack her when there's still people alive, something he said, and it was like, you know what? I need to surround her, and to surround her, I really have to clean out the whole map.
Anyways, yeah.
So and she does this sort of ranged attack on you, and maybe this is different than you. Like once you claim the first objective of like where there's reinforcements come blocking that off.
Yeah. Then
she just starts doing a ranged attack every turn that's like does huge area damage potentially to like, you know,
like
9 tiles worth of spots or whatever.
That's wild.
And it's actually pretty inaccurate. Like you don't get hit very often. Like a quarter of the time. But when you do, it's like a 30 hit points hit. You know what I mean?
Wild.
So, and that's pretty much what she does the entire time. Like you don't ever get pinpoint attacked by one person. It's just, you know, an area damage. So you surround her. And so, you know, any one side is at risk of her attack.
Gotcha.
And so it took me, I had to divine pulse a bit because, you know, occasionally she'd attack an area where I had kind of let somebody get low and then kill them. And it's like, well, I gotta not attack with her and get her attention over there.
Draw her this way.
Yeah, exactly. And heal that person. And there's like arms on this map. So you can have a few people set up to like use magic attack.
I wish that I was recording you describe this because
a lot of hand movements.
Patrick was kind of doing the YMCA earlier, and then he says there were 2 arms on this map, and he like raises his 2 arms up. It's great. It's a good time for me.
So I have Linhardt on one that you have to have a magic user to operate, and Shamir on another. But every attack, and maybe there's some way to break a shield or something that I didn't realize. But every attack on Rhea is doing like 2 or 3 damage.
Wow.
The only people I can get to do more are Petra can do 10 attack on her, 5 and 5. I can't remember who else. Maybe it was like 2 other people I could get to do 5 and 5.
Wow.
So it just was a slog of like chip damaging and getting 30 off when I could get those 3 people to attack. But occasionally I can't because I have to have them hold off and heal them. It wasn't hard. It was just long. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. And with the beast, you can do more of that little like chip damage stuff. That's part of. I felt like I couldn't do that with Nemesis as much because it was like, oh, whoever he is going to retaliate and they will die.
And that happened for me too for a couple of people.
Yeah.
And I think if I had done it even more strategically, I'd been smart about who I put where surrounding her. But I kind of just ended up with where people were on the map and just going with it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it worked. And I only ended up having to let Caspar die. And if I didn't realize that then denied me some info about him, I wouldn't have done that. You know what I mean? It was just like so close. She's only got like 5 hit points left. You know what I mean?
You're like, it's just time to end this.
This is already taken forever.
Yeah. It's just time to end it. Yeah, I have complicated feelings around like I want the final boss to be really challenging and really hard. But I feel like you should incrementally get me there with other things as well and it not feel like such a step beyond everything else I've experienced.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It was all right. You know, like it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
I don't know, for the end.
Yeah.
And then I got to see all the the marriage scene between Petra and Violet.
Well, so what happens after? Is Rhea just dead? You killed her?
Yeah. Yeah, what happened to your Rhea?
That was a really satisfying Patrick's face. Yeah. They never say what happened to my Rhea.
That's funny. So
I think she's left out of my like epilogue altogether. So here's my like she got radiation poisoning like yours did.
Oh, okay, right.
But she didn't transform. So I kind of guess she is now in this like kind of the Sothis sleep of like she is healing. She's not really dead, but she's not super active. And so I think she's just being guarded and she's healing up. And in the meantime, we're all doing our things.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
No, she's dead. And
and killed her and all of her cronies.
And Byleth is the new leader of Fodlan and the church.
Wow.
It's all united, one big, thing. Because Dimitri's dead.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no alliance, there's no kingdom, there's no empire.
What do you call that?
There is only Byleth.
Wow.
And also, since I married Petra, Bridget, I guess, exists too. But you know what? Now we're all one now.
Hot. Is that how it ended in your thing?
Yeah, it's like
that Bridget and Fodlan.
Well, it's like, she is the queen of Fodlan now, and people were a little wary of her because she's from outside, but everybody grew to accept their new queen, kind of a thing.
Yes.
And this might be the most interesting thing that didn't happen in years from mine because of me having Linhart. So you know how you get all this story about everybody's, like, what happened to them afterwards, and some people hook up.
Yes.
So, like, Linhart and Flayn ended up eloping together. Like,
that's weird. Because she's his, like...
I'm not done.
Oh, my God.
So they disappeared together, presumably.
Okay.
And then, oddly, Cyril because he did survive. Cyril restarted the training at the monastery and got the school back up in order, right? And then Flayn and Linhart disappeared, and funnily enough, many years later, a real sleepy girl with the crest of Cethaline or whatever came to be a student there. You know what I mean?
Oh.
Their daughter, presumably. And then this is where it got even really weird.
Or her.
Well, I don't think so. Because then years later, a pair of twins showed up who also bore that crest. And it's like, I guess Linhart's now one of these lizard people or whatever, like you're calling them. I don't know. It was really like, I didn't sit there and analyze it, but I kind of got the impression that they had a kid that then went to the monastery, and then because then many, many years later, they came back and pretended to be somebody else and went through the program.
I see what you're saying.
As siblings.
I see.
Weird.
Weird.
It was very weird.
Weird.
Though I'm happy for them.
Good for them.
Mercedes and Ferdinand got married in mine.
I wonder... Maybe she could give him dragon blood and that would make him immortal or whatever. But so Mercedes and who?
Mercedes and Ferdinand hooked up in mine, which was a nice little arc there because they had their support scenes were good. And I kind of wish now I had let Caspar live to see what he had done, if he would have dated anybody. I don't think he would have. He was never flirty with people too much. Shamir and Catherine's ending story were really kind of sad to me.
Okay.
And they were basically the same because they've ended up being a really big part of my team.
Okay.
And I really wanted them to have success in life. And you know what? Both of them story was the same. It's like they left. After all this, they just ended up going off on their own and kind of living solitary lives where they, like, occasionally you'd hear a story about a loner who would do a good deed and rescue somebody. You know what I mean? And it was them, presumably.
That's weird.
And it's like, that's real sad. Because both of them have this great, well, not great loyalty. Like, Catherine has great loyalty to the church and to Rhea in particular.
Yes.
And then she just ends up kind of being
a
traveling vagabond. Shamir is not. She's like a mercenary who feels somewhat indebted, but she's never really, like, into believing it or following Rhea that much.
Not in the same way.
Right. It's very different. So that kind of felt more up her alley than it did Catherine, but both of them I really liked and was hoping for more for.
Yes.
And I don't know. There were no other stories that really stuck out at me. I was a little disappointed with a few of them, like Dorothea and Shamir and Catherine and Manuela.
What was Dorothea's?
Oh, it was kind of like she went back to singing
Just went back to the opera
She went back
house.
to singing and had some success at that, and she got happily married.
Yes. Okay.
That was it. Which was
That was like her goal.
good. That was her
all
goal,
along,
but
right?
it was just like the last sentence.
Just
and
like,
she
whoop.
got married.
And she done married.
Yeah.
Found her man.
Maybe if there had been a better pairing,
Yeah.
you know what I mean, in my group, she would have married that person, and it would have had a better
I bet so.
arc to it.
I bet so. I'm trying to remember. Daniel's Dorothea married Hubert,
Oh,
and apparently they started a like secret like
mage something or other.
secret mage assassins who are trained through the theater guild or something, which I thought that was like
That's
a super
nice.
cool ending.
Weird, because I wouldn't have put them two together,
Yeah.
but interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So mine. Okay, I have to tell you about me and Big Knots because I was a little
Sorry you were disappointed.
So he is like, hey, I painted this picture of you. I painted this picture because you are the new ruler of the church and you're so beautiful. And you say, that's great. I'm going to hang it up in Garrick Muck in the like, where the big mural used to be. Now it's going to be my painting. And he said, no, that's embarrassing because then everyone will know I'm a painter now. And you said, that's okay because you should be proud of your art and also because I love you.
Right.
And he just like, oh, you want to marry me? You love me? Good, great. People are going to know I'm an artist. I'm now free to be an artist. Like, that's what he cares about.
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
Like, fuck you, Big Knots.
Gotcha.
Like, I gave you the keys to this kingdom of my body
Right.
and my soul, and all you care about is now you
that's
get
funny,
to
yeah.
like come out as an artist.
No, Petra's was nice because it was like, oh, I have these feelings too. Yay. You know what I mean? Whatever. It wasn't like exciting, but it was like, oh, sweet or
At
whatever.
least
Yeah.
kind of mutual.
Right.
Yeah. No, he was just really excited that I was going to liberate him from his duty as a knight. I was really pissed.
That's pretty funny though, to me. Sorry.
It was, I mean, at least it threw me for a curve.
The true Ignatz came out at the end.
That's right. I always thought he was sweet. No, he was just self-absorbed. So Lysithea went to move in with Raphael and became BFFs with Raphael's sister, and they all kind of were a marketing
Triad?
family together. Sibling triad. They were a little like marketing family for a little bit until she died. And it doesn't say, oh, because you don't know this. A big motivation of my whole team,
She's sick or
about
something?
halfway through, since she has 2 crests, she her life expectancy is super low, and she thought she only had 5 years to live when she came to the monastery. So when you have the time skip, this is she finally tells everyone like, I'm surprised I'm not dead already.
Oh, okay.
And so part of our beef with those who slither in the dark is that we want to avenge Lysithea. And so it says, like, she lives out her few remaining days with the 2 of them. So you kind of get the idea that she and Raphael were in love, but never marry because she knows she's going to die and doesn't want to make him a widower.
Interesting.
This was the funnier one for me. Marianne and Hilda team up and become these, like, this jewelry making duo.
Oh, that's great.
That sells these different like blessed you know, like necklaces.
That's hilarious.
And armlets and things like that. I thought that was hilarious. Yeah, it was great. Leonie just kind of went off and did her Leonie thing. She became this great mercenary she always wanted to be. She didn't get paired up with anyone in the end. Seteth and Flane were paired off in the end. And it was like they continue to kind of coach you from the background and kind of treat you as family, but aren't like overbearing. And then years later, thousands of years later or whatever, there's these 2 people who are seen in tattered clothes kind of suggesting that they continue to live on and kind of influence Fodlan, but don't give any real clear like what that looks like. Manuela never marries, goes off to become a school teacher. I think probably the same as yours.
I think that might have been the same.
A lot of these characters who I didn't use, they're just like bland thing, was not super great. So the one I thought was really cool, Claude and Lorenz.
Okay.
So and also this is just my ending in general. Byleth becomes the head of the new church. That is also like kind of low-key lost its power a little bit, and everyone's a little bit okay with that. The whole country is united under a council of different folks, and so there's not one single ruler, but there's
interesting,
more of a democracy set up. But exactly what that looks like is unclear.
Byleth and Petra rule in my world with a sole with
monarchy, iron fist. Yes. And what do you call it when the church and the government are one?
A theocracy.
Theocracy. So you're like a hardcore theocracy.
Oh yeah.
So it's like our church is there, but it's kind of like we're not running the show. We're kind of letting them do their thing. We're also like reassessing the teachings of the church and making some cuts, reinterpreting some things. So Claude leaves Fodlan, and because of his great tales of victory in Fodlan, he and his father, mother, whichever one was connected, I think it was his father, to Elmira, dies, so he becomes the king of Elmira.
Okay.
And Lorenz is left as one of these prominent members on this council, and he and Lorenz then write this like peace agreement between the two nations, and so the two nations ally for the first time in forever, and the hatred between their peoples is resolved.
Well, that's good.
And there's like rumor has it the two of them have been scheming this all along.
Oh.
Yeah, and so I thought that was
scheme's paid off.
That's right. Finally there's the like this is the big thing, is he's wanted to unite these two nations.
Okay.
And so that's been achieved through him and Lawrence's friendship.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So that was
we're coming on 2 hours here. So I did want to say one thing like about my MVPs, and I think this is also a difficult part about the church route. It was interesting to watch the part where it lays out all your MVPs, because it's Edelgard, Hubert, Edelgard. And then, you know what I mean? They're gone. Yep. Oh. And then it's like, Shamir, Dorothea, Sedith, Petra, like
potpourri of folks.
And when those ones repeat, but like I'm like, yeah, this is why I think I had this issue of like Marianne and Bernadetta and Caspar. Ferdinand got redeemed.
They took your big players.
Ferdinand, I kind of got back up in power, but the other ones I could never quite get their stats in the right place and their classes in the right place to bring them, and why I had to let a few of them die, because you have these people that you're focused on that you then lose.
Yeah,
and if I knew that, I might have not spent so much time teaching Edelgard and Hubert, you know what I mean, and investing as much into them
that makes a lot of sense. Game. That also even though there were times where it kind of dragged down for you, it does make me happy that you played normal, because even though you're seeing in retrospect how maybe you should have played certain ways, it also feels like you weren't like punished in a way that you could not come back from.
And frankly, I'm not sure that I want to play in hard. I don't. Maybe I do. I think I probably do. But to answer your question about what I want to do next, I think I kept a save right at the split.
I remember you saying that.
So I think what I will do is just use that save and see the Edelgard route.
Okay.
And then
that makes a lot of sense.
And then after that, because that shouldn't take very long.
No. Half
I'd
the game already out of the way. Yeah.
Yeah, more than half, because I think that route only has like 18 chapters.
I have heard that. Yeah.
So I think then after that, I would like to maybe try hard with the blue lions, because I feel like I've heard the golden deer run here, and like there might be some value in playing that, but I don't know that there is a ton for me at this point.
Sure.
After I feel like I played it with you. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like,
I feel the same way about the church route. And I did some research on this. I got a little worried about how similar our stories are.
I am glad that we played these two,
Yes.
assuming that the other ones are more different, which I think they are.
So this is what I checked on. I try to remain as spoiler free as possible. My understanding is that the other two routes don't
track quite as much.
Yes, diverge more obviously, and you get a lot more info from them. The story beats are different enough on the two of them, and that the two routes we took are the most similar.
Well, that's
up
really
until the very end.
Good coincidence then for us, for this podcast.
Absolutely.
For people listening as well, yeah.
And they probably get a taste of enough differences, but we haven't laid out the whole story for everyone. Absolutely. And I think I'm going to play... So I went ahead and started a Black Eagles game, but I'm not very far. I have not even gotten to the Eagle and Lion battle yet.
Right.
And now Maddening has been released, and Hard was... It was a challenge, but also not that much of a challenge for me.
So you might restart.
I might restart.
The Blue Lion route? Or?
And go ahead and just keep with Black Eagles. And go go Edelgard route.
Go Edelgards, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see.
Cool. And I'm also really curious what happens with the DLC, like how meaty that story portion is.
It says new playable characters.
And how it fits in.
Yeah.
And who those characters, you know what I mean? Like I feel like there's some... I don't know because I haven't played all the routes, but it sounds like even if you do, there's still some questions out there.
Sure.
And like the biggest question to me is this Yuritsa guy. Like, why did he wear a mask? Why was he so
mysterious and kind of prickly?
And why did they let him in? And why doesn't anybody know anything about him? And why doesn't anybody...
No. Yeah. Who
I hope that gets answered
who is
in
he?
One route and or in the DLC. Or maybe not. Maybe it's okay, but
maybe he is the true progenitor god all along.
Yeah.
He's the dreamer dreaming your fever dream.
Final thoughts on the game of so far? I mean, not final thoughts, but
yes,
for now.
I will be happy with whatever the story DLC comes probably. But the thing that I usually don't feel this way, is I almost do want a prequel of like, show me what happens when Sothis shows up on Fodlan and things go awry, and would kind of love to...
I could see them doing sort of similar to Torna, where it is like 1,000 years earlier, and we get to see some of the early battle stuff or whatever.
Yeah, I would love that if that's the direction they go. And I think it would be enough of like new stuff that you don't necessarily, similar to Torna, have to have finished the main to... You will get more out of it story-wise.
Right, but you could play it on its own.
That's right. So we'll see. That's it. I'm glad we did this together.
Yes, thank you for doing this with me. Thank everybody who's listened to all of this, or even some of it, for sticking with us to the end here.
Thank you, listeners. Send us some email.
Yeah, let us know what you think. We see you out there. Let us know about your playthrough, too. And I think, we'll see. This might be the last episode, but I think we'll probably, after either another playthrough and or DLC, and which might be many months from now, because that's coming out in 2020, right?
Yeah, like February or something, early. But
do another episode for anyone interested. Keep your eyes open.
Peace and blessings of Saros.